Hello everyone and welcome to another episode in the world of Ford Focus Mark 1s, and 50 Shades is having a small job done to her today. A very easy job in my respect. I've done it once before and it is this fantastic thing in my hand, a Lambda sensor, a genuine Ford Lambda sensor in the packet. My God, this is one expensive thing to buy. If you go to Ford, they want about 250, maybe 300 pounds to wire these things. This thing is the ultimate reader. It will read the amount of oxygen in your exhaust and it will tell the ECU the information in order for the ECU to work out how much fuel to put into the car, whether to add fuel or subtract fuel, hence fuel trims. Something that I covered last year and never quite got to the bottom of. The truth is two things. I think it's the cat, it's a poor aftermarket cat. I'm waiting for it to give me a problem or warning light, or the emissions results not being too great at the MOT, and then I'll have an excuse to get rid of it. But for now, it's okay, it's still working, but ideally not as well. This is the other thing. Now, the Lambda sensor on this car I changed years ago. The original one I changed for an aftermarket one because, like most people back then who hadn't really got a clue, to be honest, I just thought, well, I'm getting some warning lights and I'm getting some running issues, let's just swap it and see. And that's what most people do on these things. It's a bit of guesswork, and it was certainly guesswork. The problem turned out that my cat was actually dying and not this. I did keep the original somewhere, it's gone missing since. But last year when we had the fuel trim issue, I actually off camera swapped that aftermarket one for a second-hand genuine one. Now the genuine ones, these, they are made by NGK. NGK are the best at Lambda sensors. So if you're buying an aftermarket one, buy an NGK one, and most likely it will be almost exactly the same as the genuine originals. However, for the argument's sake in this, I couldn't resist buying this. And you know why? Because this cost me £50. Yep, £50 it cost me. Why not? It was on eBay, there was about 3 or 4 of them up for grabs, and I had the parts number 1053108, as you can see here. Okay, 98 AB, obviously that's the year that it was a brand new sensor specific for the Focus. 1.4 and 1.6. If you've got a Z-Tech 182 litre, it's a slightly different number. Obviously, that is kind of the gimmick. So this will fit either one. I mean, that's the finish code, that's your parts number. Okay, so I'm sure some of you will be typing that in at any moment. I am letting the car warm up. I've just switched the garage lights on for a bit of extra air. There are a couple of things that are being done imminently to this car. You may have spotted this if you have met me at a recent meet. We are going to imminently have some new bumpers fitted. It hasn't been fitted as of this moment, but my bumpers are currently at the body shop being worked on, and I can't wait to put these somewhere. Yes, somewhere, ideally. So things are moving on with 50 Shades. The only bit of the panel that I'm not, well, the bodywork I'm not happy with is this damn roof with all these freaking specks. Can you see these specks? There we go, loving that, all this. This tailgate, this is the only part of the car that hasn't been sprayed up. The tailgate, the roof, etc. It's okay, it scrubs up nicely, to be honest, and I'll leave that for another year. It's not necessary, I'm not bothered. It's going to show some wear anyway, because otherwise I'm not going to want to drive it as much. But yeah, this is an absolute steal, to be honest. I had to get it. I didn't intend to get it. I didn't really budget because things are a bit tight this month with the bumpers. I'm probably looking at the best part of 500 quid. My body shop will charge a kind of standard rate, 250 per bumper, a bit more if it needs a bit of work. The rear bumper might need a bit of work just to get it nice and straight, but overall it's not too bad. So you can see where my money's going, and this was 50 quid, 550. You know, this is the life of Mark 1s. They're not cheap, they're really expensive cars to maintain high, but luckily I've done all my due diligence so far. But anyway, This episode not necessarily is about whether this is going to cure the fuel trims, because I'm going to have to drive it, and I'm not being funny. It has been wet and rainy. Hello Battle Axe Beatrix. I say Battle Axe because of the roof. It is wet and soggy, and yeah, I'm not driving it today. So it's not going to be a good result, because the computer's going to have to compensate for this new sensor and learn the parameters again. I have to disconnect the battery and do all that. But I'm going to see if I could just show you what's going on with the fuel trims. It's got to operate in temperature now, since I've been talking to you for the last 5 minutes. And I'm going to get in, put my torch on, and I'll see what the scanner is saying just with the old oxygen sensor, and then we'll fit this. Thank you very much, torch. These are blimmin' good things, these Draper spotlights. I think Draper Expert spotlights, they can go anywhere. Honestly, you could just have it a tiny, different settings. But anyway, plenty of lighting. We're up to temperature. I'll just give it a bit of a kick. And the new throttle position sensor is reading 2.3% at idle. So if that's anything to go by, this is a brand new throttle position sensor, genuine Ford, and it's only just been fitted, right? 20.3. It should be about 20%, but it can vary by a fraction of a percentage. It doesn't matter, as long as it's not, if it's 19 or 21, I think you might need it changing. That's just my opinion there. The airflow rate is usual 100 degrees, so we get 102, right? The fan might kick in a second. The fan should kick in at about 104 degrees. Let's have a look. The RPM, that's 795, 810. So it hangs around the 800 mark, and this is an automatic, so yeah. 11 degrees, 11.5 degrees, 12 degrees ignition advance, and that's quite usual. Right, long-term fuel trim. Oh, bummer. Minus 14% again. I will put it this way, guys. It has the long-term fuel trim. If it's minus 25%, it will trigger a light. You'll have a light, okay, for that. We'll trigger a warning light because you're far out of the normal regime. So the computer is taking away fuel. So that might be because we're running a little bit on the lean side. Now this is the front oxygen sensor, right? B1S1 is the front one. It is switching, but it's not switching very quickly, as you can see. It's gone lazy. That's slow. That's really slow. Now the B1S2 sensor 2 is the rear one. That merely is a reader to tell the ECU that the cat is okay, and that seems to be fluctuating. It should be about 0.45. 0.45 should be straight in the middle, the perfect air fuel ratio, basically. No, it's not doing that at all. That should be flip-flopping from 0.1, 0.2 to 0.8, 0.9. It should be flip-flopping, lean, rich, but it isn't. It's sort of moving, but it's very, very slow. Now the short-term fuel trim should be close to 0%, and it is. Fantastic. That means 1%, 0%, brilliant. That means that the computer is compensating for whatever it's compensating for. It could be a sensor. I doubt it. I've looked at everything on this car, and I'm becoming a bit perplexed, but I definitely think the cat is causing some serious interesting readings. Right, let's go to the front of the car. I'll pop this headlight floodlight under so you can see, because I don't want to put this outside. I'll get that damn sensor off. Right, be wary about the surroundings a little bit. Right, okay, so first thing, the Lambda sensor on a 1.4, 1.6 isn't as it's not in as an accessible position as obviously at the front of a Z-Tech, because it's just here at the front. It's hanging around at the back. Now I'm just going to bring you in. It is quite warm at the back here, but basically if I just stick the torch in, we've got this plug that's cable tied to this main wiring loom here. Okay, and be very careful. Now this is a simple push fit. You just push the plug all the way down. I'm trying to give you as much light as possible here, but you just push the plug in, and you've got to get your both hands on two halves to separate them. And this could take some effort, but be very careful, because I do think on Mark 1s a lot of these wires down here are going to get a little bit crispy over the years, and I just don't want to pull them too much out of position. You have to take the plug off, because we're going to have to disconnect it from where it connects to the exhaust using a 22mm spanner or a Lambda socket, but I've always thought a 22mm is best for this job, because getting a socket in is actually really tricky and actually more cumbersome. So a 22mm and a hammer. But anyway, I'll get that plug off. If you need to use penetrating fluid, please do so, because they are tough to take apart. Oh, it's bloody tight this is. You've got to push this one down. Oh, I've got it. It's moved. Be patient. There we go. It's gone. Yeah, that's come off very nicely. Okay, lovely. Right, now we could leave that, because that's going to go swinging everywhere. Be very careful of the hot exhaust. Right, the next one, really, is to get that connection off. Now we've got to get a 22mm spanner on that and crack that off. It should. You get some penetrating fluid on it as well, okay, to break this bond. Now I've never known these to sort of snap in the exhaust downpipe. I've never known that, to be honest. I'm just gonna try and break it with one hand. Oh fuck! Oh my god! That was easy. It was a bit too easy. Goodness me, it usually cracks off. Oh, it's gone stiff again. Oh, that's not a good sign. Try and go backwards and forwards if you can, okay? Just do a bit of this, because when you do that, you're cleaning the thread. Okay, backwards, forwards, okay, until it's... There we go, that feels really loose now. Oh, bloody hell, that feels loose. Yeah, just keep doing it. Obviously, in this case, we don't need to worry about too much about the plug. The plug will twist. That's why you've got to disconnect it. You can't do this when the plug is connected. There's always disconnect the plug first, and that's probably the... I say that's the hardest probably part of the job. Oh. There we go. We might have to just untangle this a little bit, because it goes all over the bloody place. Okay. You just can't get a socket down into this section down here. That's the problem. Get in there. I just want to avoid touching hot exhaust. Now it should. Yeah, it can come out by hand, this. Oh. There we go. Just going to fish it up by hand. There we go. Lovely. Oh, excuse me. Just bring the camera back up. Yeah. No, we can see they do look visibly cruddy. I've got to say, that looks even more cruddy than I usually find. They got all sorts of... The problem is that the heating element is not only there to... it's mainly there to just burn some of these deposits off as well. Just to keep everything working well. But this one is a Ford 98AB. He's got the same numbers, and NTK, if you can see that. Sorry, light. It says where my thumb is, NTK Japan. Now NTK is another arm of NGK. NGK, it's basically the same company, but NTK are the ones that manufactured these from the get-go, from Ford. Okay. Open this packet that's never been opened before with these staples. It's really nice to see this sensor in the packet, because it gives me confidence it's not someone who's repackaged an aftermarket one. I'll be able to tell anyway. Looks brand new. Utterly brand new. Look at that. Wow. I'll show you the differences. There's less crud around here. NTK Japan. It's just there where my thumb is. You can't really see it in the light. Sorry about that. But it is correct. Ford 98A, perfect, absolutely perfect. And this plug is brand new. We have 4 wires, by the way. 2 of them are the heated plugs. This is kind of a design of the later Lambda sensors, early Lambda sensors, or oxygen sensors, I should name. They did not have heated elements inside them. I've never known them to break, but if you look at the differences between the two, they should have a washer, by the way, some sealing washer, but yeah, okay, one is visibly more dirty, but to be fair, that doesn't really, that doesn't affect it really. The reader is inside here, okay, that sends the resistance to the ECU, and the ECU will know what to do with it. Wow, I can't wait to get this in. Let's get going. Ooh. Try and get it in there. You don't have to, please do not put copper grease on the threads, because that could impede a lot of things, including how the sensor reads. If that copper grease will just run and melt onto the head of the sensor, we do not want it. You fit it dry. You can use some WD-40 to get it to thread in, but this is going in, as you can see with my hand. Obviously, problem is with this, you have to fight the cable, because the cable wants to spin round. There we go, lovely. Right, I am just going to get my spanner and nip it up. We don't want it over tight, and we just want it tight to the point where it doesn't move at all. So keep moving it round. God, I'm sweating. This engine is hot. Right, that's gone a little bit more tighter. Just rotate your spanner. Trying to get that in. Okay, that's gone really firm now. I'm just gonna, yeah, that's fine. Done. Done with that. Now just plug this back in up here. I know you can't see on the camera, just plug it in. There we go, you heard that click. Right, lovely. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start the car as per normal, and we'll see what the readings are. I doubt the readings will change, but it's might as well got it plugged in, haven't we? Okay, we'll just let that settle down and just make sure that that needle is in the middle. It isn't at the moment. Right, about 2.5 minutes later, I've just give it a bit of a kick at 2000 RPM just to get things booted up a little bit, and then give it 30 seconds to settle down, and let's have a little look. I don't think anything would have changed. 95 degrees is a fair test, about, again, hanging around an average of about 800 RPM, give or take. I'd say the RPM fluctuates between 20 RPM, 790 to 810. Oh, 800 exactly there. Sorry for my camera screen. 28 degrees. There we go. Lontoon fuel trim has not changed at all. That's absolutely fine. B1 S1. 0.8, 0.1, 0.70. 0.1 for the rear one, that's still fluctuating a little bit, but it's still moving. I think that's moving fractionally quicker. I think this oxygen sensor is switching fractionally quicker than the old one. There is a bit of a difference that I've immediately noticed, just really, really subtle. It is switching fractionally quicker. If you compare it to early in the video, it is flip-flopping. Not ridiculously though. I still think that the cat, yes. But, as most of you will point out, that this test is, excuse the light, absolutely pointless, because what I've got to do now is disconnect the battery, leave it overnight, give it a day or two. Going to another meet tomorrow, just a local one, and then the ECU will learn its parameters, and maybe we might get it changed, but I think we can conclude that the cat is definitely at fault and it's confusing all the sensors. Everything else has been changed, everything else has been looked at, and she purrs brilliantly, as always. I'm never worried about the situation, just something that you notice because you look at a scanner, you see all these things. But the point in this episode is, should I change my front oxygen sensor? 100%. It's a reader. It's a very, 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 it's a very important reader. Probably the most important on the car. You must change it as a matter of course after a while, because they do get funny, they do get lazy, they either don't switch, the heated elements pack up very rarely, or they're not giving the ECU the correct results, and therefore the ECU is actually compensating quite wrongly when there's actually no problem. And that can be the thing where sensors lie to the ECU, and the ECU can't do anything other than trust its ECU, its sensors, I should say. So anyway, I'm going to leave this here. Aftermarket ones, they're good. Aftermarket ones are absolutely fine, and they're the most affordable ones. That £50 is what I'd expect to pay for a decent aftermarket one, whether it's a Bosch or an NTK probably, after watching this video. But otherwise, there's not a massive amount of difference, but there's some. And the genuine ones have lasted such a long time, and it is such an expensive sensor, not necessarily because Ford are greedy, but because it is just so clever and intricate in the way it works. It really will make a difference, and hopefully it'll make a difference to the drive. So anyway, with a new oxygen sensor, genuine, and a new throttle position sensor, this car is as accurately reading its parameters as possible, and I can't really go from here other than cat. Take care, guys.